everyone, this is Life Points, where we're bringing biblical worldviews to life. All of us look at life through lenses, and Jenny and I, we look at the life through the Bible. And so we've been discussing for the past, probably 7-8 years of wanting to do something in ministry together. And so out of this pandemic, we've been talking about what we could do together while we were in the house. And this is just an idea we came up with. So we kind of hope this takes off. And if it doesn't, we'll scratch our heads and try something else. And so today we're going to talk about, I've heard a lot of parents are really nervous about doing school at home. And so at our house, when somebody gets really nervous about something or uptight, what do we say, Jenny?
Hakuna Matata.
We say Hakuna Matata, which means no worries. And so Jenny here, I don't know if you know much about her background or my background, but I'm a pastor in a small town. I've been at my current church about 1.5 years, but before I came here, the first half of my ministry I was spent with doing children's ministry and doing youth ministry, middle school and high school. Jenny, she grew up, she has a unique perspective, I think, on this topic of doing school in your house. Jenny, would you like to tell them about your schooling experience and what your vocation is now?
Sure. I was homeschooled from 3rd through 12th grade, and then I went to community college and then Campbell, where I got my degree in music education with K-12 teacher licensure, and then I went back and added on certification for K-6 elementary ed. So I had the advantage that I was homeschooled, and I'm currently a teacher in a local school.
So she homeschooled growing up, and she's a current teacher in a local school here in our county that we're serving in. Deuteronomy 6, the Bible tells us that parents are the primary disciplers, and we kind of live by this, that as we just live life with our kids, we're teaching them, and we try to make every moment a teachable moment. And so one of the things that I've read a lot about as we're at home now, and the kids are at home and I'm working from at home, it is a routine. It's very important. Your kids were in a routine before this started. You were in a routine before this started. And so, Jenny, what kind of routine do our kids and you do each day? Because it's different from my routine.
We try and make sure we're started with official schooling by 9, because at our school the tardy bell would ring at 8:45, and so students were already in the classroom by that time. We start out with our morning devotions at breakfast. It's about a half page written in kid-friendly language with pictures of one of the stories from the Bible that points directly to Jesus Christ. And then we'll write 2 to 3 sentences in a notebook, and our topics are different. They wrote about their favorite holiday last week, and Beth Ann said her favorite holiday was her birthday. Then we will split up, and Sammy J will do a math program independently while I work with Beth Ann one-on-one with math, and then we'll switch. Then we'll do the same thing for reading, and then we'll have a hands-on science activity and an art project, and we try and be finished by 12 every day. If we don't finish, if we get a late start, then we will eat lunch, let them have some playtime, and then we'll finish up with the last half hour or so after lunch.
Now, that sounds overwhelming because I'm not a teacher. So if I'm a parent and I'm diving in this for the first time, and I wasn't homeschooled, and I didn't go to school to get a degree in how to teach my kids, how can we make this simple for the parent who is doing this for the first time? And honestly, a month ago, wasn't planning on teaching their kids at all.
That's a great question. Right now, there are some math programs that are online that are free. One is Khan Academy, Khan Academy.org.
By the way, sorry to interrupt you, but we'll put all links to everything we're talking about in the comment box so that you can just click on the link.
One is Happy Numbers, and one is Freckle Math, and then there's Prodigy Math. The cool thing about Freckle is there are lessons on there for reading and math and science and social studies, and so it's kind of a one-stop shop. It's a great place to start, and it's free, and it will let your kids take like a little placement thing so they know where they are and you know where they are, and then it will just start them at their level. So if they're really, really strong in math, it'll start them on that level. If they're really weak in reading, it'll start them there. But the most important thing to do is just to make it fun and continually do things. Like, we make sure that we're reading every single day, not only that I'm reading to them, but that they're reading to me and each other. Sammy J's even helping Beth Ann with her sight words like and how and which. And she's pretty bossy about it, but he puts up with a lot.
And you may be wondering, our kids are elementary age. And so you said those programs, we're going to put in the link at the comment box. They're all free, so they don't cost you anything. but there are resources out there. Are there any other resources you would recommend out there as far as besides those? And by the way, Prodigy, my son begs to do that even on the weekends. And Happy Numbers, my baby girl, Beth Ann, she begs to do Happy Numbers on the weekends as well. And so we're not even at this point asking them to do that. They're coming to us and saying, can we do more of this?
Absolutely. Some other resources that are out there are the Cincinnati Zoo is doing a home safari every weekday, and they're posting it on YouTube. They're doing it live at 3 o'clock on their Facebook page, and they are just giving you an animal encounter from home with animals like giraffes and sloths and snow leopards and all kinds of things, flamingos. And that's a 15-minute segment where they're just talking to you about the animals and what they eat and how they behave and how they interact, and it's a really neat opportunity.
The other thing I would say is, as I said, we're bringing a biblical worldview to life. So we want to take this opportunity while we're teaching our kids at home. We do it when they're in school as well in the afternoons with family worship, but we're being very intentional to include the Bible in everything we try to teach our kids while we're teaching them from at home. And it's the two great resources I want to recommend that we're putting out from Kinley Missionary Baptist Church, and you can find them on the Kinley Missionary Baptist Church's children's page. Is our children's director, Dr. Allison Syverson, who is a coordinator, I think,
Instructional coach.
An instructional coach at one of our local schools. She is also our children's director, and she is putting out a lesson every Sunday morning for children's church, but she's also putting out a lesson every Wednesday night. And she's doing the video. She has instructions. You just kind of follow along with them. And that's another free resource we'll link here for you. So as our kids are learning through the week, we're not doing children's church on Sunday, or we're not doing it on Wednesday when it's put out. We're incorporating it once a week into their learning as if it was part of their school. The other thing I would say from the pastor aspect of this is that when you're asked to do something with your kids, they're going to think it's lame if you think it's lame. So like last week in the children's thing, and this is really good for kids K through 5th grade, I believe, they were walking around the walls of Jericho talking about that story. Well, Jenny went marching around the walls with the kids, and I blew the trumpet, and the walls came tumbling down. And so we got involved with them. Today we were outside doing an activity I think Allison's going to use as an illustration maybe later on this week, but we were engaged with our kids. This is a great time for you as parents to engage with your kids. The other thing we want to say is make this fun. What are some things that you have done to make this fun for our children where they love to learn? Actually, Sammy J at this point is begging to be homeschooled.
We've made a volcano out of baking soda and water and flour, and then we use citric acid and water. You can find the instructions for that online. I'll try and find the link and post it here as well. But we made a little tiny volcano that they made erupt. We've planted trees or bushes out in the yard, and as we dug in the soil, we talked about the different layers of soil. We talked about that the closer that the plants are to the water source, the better that they're going to grow, the more healthy they're going to be. They go and play in the ditch beside our yard and dig for worms and bring them in, and we compare the sizes of the worms. We've even done an experiment outside where we use the sun in a jar of water to create a rainbow on the sidewalk.
And then I went outside with a magnifying glass and showed my kids that when you get a magnifying glass in the right direction, you can have a lot of fun. I hope your kids aren't watching at this point.
But those are some of the ideas that we've done. And I don't say, okay, now it's time for science, or okay, now it's time for math. It's all kind of connected together. It's just a good way for them to interact with each other and challenge each other and push each other as they are on this learning journey together. Which
comes back to us going back to Deuteronomy chapter 6, this biblical worldview, which talks about we are to love the Lord your God with all your heart. And then we as parents have the primary responsibility of teaching that to our kids. And so as we're teaching our kids life, we want to teach them to love God. So as he brought a worm in the house the other day and mommy was running and like, ooh, I was like, do you realize that's kind of God's creation? And we talked about that. And so we try to turn everything back to the Bible because we think that is central for life. Here's the big question, because parents are working from at home during this point too. How many hours a day should your kids be working and doing schoolwork?
That's a great question. We try and do a total of 3 hours a day. And that includes everything. That includes reading for fun. That includes doing the math programs for fun. But really, you don't have to do that much. The reason we're doing that much is because they're begging us to. We include art every day because our kids are very interested in art. We try to include music every day. So really, as long as you can get in about 90 minutes to 2 hours, you are good to go. Give yourself some grace. You are not going to be the same as having their teacher in the room, and you shouldn't be. You should take this opportunity to build relationships with your children and help point them to Jesus as you walk this road alongside them. Let them know that it's okay. You're learning alongside them, and you'll find out that they know quite a few things that they'll be willing to teach you as well.
Now, Jenny, you said you had a music degree, and we're doing music, but you don't have an art degree.
No.
And she is, honestly, Sammy J is probably almost as good an artist as Jenny is at this point.
Better.
And so, being you're not an artist, because a lot of parents are watching this are like, I'm not a musician. I'm not an artist. How do I do art with my kids? How do I do music with my kids at home?
Well, the music that we're doing actually comes from those lessons that Allison's been giving us for Children's Church and Teen Kid, because she includes music along with that. So that's where our music is coming from. I'm not getting out instruments, and we're not dancing around.
They're dancing around. Jenny's not, but my kids are.
But there's a resource called Art Hub for Kids. We'll put that in the links as well. That teaches you how to draw different things. Sammy J the other day learned how to draw a marshmallow that was on fire. He thought that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, he came up to my office and actually showed it to me in the middle of a Zoom conference. He was trying to get my attention to show me this. And Jenny, do you have any last words you'd like to leave them before I dive in with what I have?
It is okay for you not to have all the answers. We do not have this figured out completely. We are taking it one day at a time, and sometimes 1 minute at a time. If you were to see our kitchen table when we get up in the mornings and get started with school, it looks like a tornado came through. There's paint and Play-Doh and all kinds of crusty, unknown things down in the cracks, and that is okay. It's more about taking the time that God has given us to strengthen your relationship with Him and strengthen your relationship with your kids as you walk this journey alongside them. And you'll probably discover they have quite a few things that they might want to say and that they could teach you through this process.
I'm going to leave you with something I heard somebody say this past week. You can't mess up your kids doing school with them. The only thing that's going to come out of this is that if you will just take it easy, take a deep breath, say Hakuna Matata a couple times, try to have fun with this, is all you're going to do is build some lasting memories with your kids that you're going to cherish the rest of your life, and your kids are going to cherish the rest of their life. As we were planting the bushes out in our backyard, and we were talking about this, I said, it's my prayer that when you have kids, you're going to come back and you'll be able to point to those bushes and tell your kids, my grandkids, that you helped plant those bushes and that you learned about plants by outside putting your hands into the soil. And so I want to encourage you, you can't mess this up, guys. Just take a deep breath again and say Hakuna Matata. The last thing I'd like to say for you as I'm leaving you some parting words is this. We want to encourage you to like, we want to encourage you to share this, and we want to encourage you to comment on this video. We want to know that you've engaged and you like the links that we are sharing with you guys. But this is something that Jenny and I we've prayed about. I feel very strongly about. I've been trying to get Jenny to do this for the past 3 years with me, some type of podcast or video blog. And I finally talked her into it when we got locked up under house orders and we couldn't really go anywhere other than the grocery store. And so please encourage Jenny so that we can keep on doing these videos, because I really enjoy doing this with my wife. And every time it's not going to be about school, but this is just kind of where we're at this week, learning how to do school from at home and me work from home at the same time. And so we thought we would bring a biblical worldview to what the Bible says on this, as that's what we're basing how we do this on. Well, guys, again, I just want to encourage you guys, keep on doing what you're doing. Keep up the fight. Your kids love you and you love your kids, and that's really what matters in this time. Have a God-blessed day.